Hi everyone, it's James here from Jivey Talks Tech, back with another part of the All Things Immersive series. I quite like that title. This time we're going to talk about immersive panning. Now, coming from a traditional stereo or 2.1 background, we're used to the Pro Tools channel pan controls. Other DAWs are available, looking like this for a mono channel or like this for a stereo channel. These channels could be instrument tracks or aux tracks. The pan controls all look pretty much the same. However, once we move into what Pro Tools used to call the surround panner and now call the immersive panner, things get quite a bit more complicated. And you do need to keep your eye on the ball because an immersive aux send and the main channel send or volume control do look very similar. This is the immersive panner for a mono channel, and this is the immersive panner for a stereo channel, with the addition of the height channel from the surround panner. Yes, okay, it's fair to say that the stereo version only looks busier because there's two of them side by side, as you might expect. But still, we're a long way from left and right here, and LCR is a very distant memory. The immersive panner is divided up into three main sections. We have the pan viewer, where we can see a representation of our playback space, and we can change that view if we wish. I have to admit, the default 3D image is fine. It just does look like an arcade game from 1989 with some poor vector graphics. Yes, I'm that old. We also see the layout of our speakers. Now, when mixing in Dolby Atmos, we have to remember that the number of speakers in the rig is kind of irrelevant, as Atmos is an object-based system and not channel or speaker-based. But still, this extra display can be useful. On the right side of the panel, we have the LFE send at the top and the main send or volume control underneath, with the familiar automation, solo and mute controls in the middle. Being able to send a portion or some of the signal into the LFE or sub is quite a new experience for me. But remember, this should be done sparingly, as pushing a lot of signal into the LFE could get us into trouble. If you think of the LFE for kick drum and super low bass on its own, you won't go far wrong. Or ignore the LFE send entirely and leave it for the film and TV mixers to do their pops, bangs and explosions. Remember, Dolby Atmos is a full range system, and in a properly configured mixing or playback rig like I have here with these beautiful Kali audio speakers, all the speakers in the rig are full range. So if you want to put the kick drum in the rears, you can do. Under the room position graphic, we have the position and divergent controls. Position is fairly self-explanatory with the addition of two controls, height and center. Height is the new control in the immersive toolbox. Being able to raise the sound up into the height speakers is very cool and a great way to quite literally give your mixes a new dimension. However, center is something that's really worth talking about and was the entire reason for making this video. In most cases, we now have three full range speakers along the front of our listening space: left, right, and center. Now, traditionally, when we mix a lead vocal, say, in a stereo playback environment, we'll pan this dead center, meaning that the same amount of signal for the vocal is coming from both the left and right speaker, giving us what we call a phantom center image. This sounds like the voice is coming from directly between the two speakers, which is great, even though there isn't actually a speaker there. However, in our Atmos or even a 5.1 or 7.1 system, there is a speaker there in the center. So if we pan to the center, the vocal is going to come from the center speaker, and the center speaker only. That's okay, right? Well, yes and no. I said in the previous All Things Immersive video that there were no rules to mixing music in Atmos. Well, this is kind of a rule for Atmos music mixing, and it's kind of been handed down to us from the film and TV mixing world. In movies and TV, the center speaker or channel is reserved for dialogue, and nothing should get in the way of the dialogue. So the way we get around this problem is by using the center control. At 100%, anything mixed to the center position will only come from the center speaker, no phantom center. Set the center control to 0 and anything panned to the center will come equally from the left and right speaker, giving us our phantom center image and keeping the film and TV mixing boys and girls happy and off our case. While you out there in YouTube land can't hear the difference between the phantom center and the real center, you can see it in the 9.1.6 master channel.
Goodbye to my pride. With the words I said out loud, I watched you run a mile as I filtered through the crowd. I risked it all. I'd still lose in this mess from the truth I confessed. Oh, I do. You are still everything to me.
There's one more reason to set the center control to 0 for our vocal track, and that reason is control of our IP or intellectual property. With the center control at 100%, a vocal pan to the center will come from only the center speaker. All our lush stereo reverbs and delays will come from the left, the right, the surrounds, the heights, leaving the vocal pretty much unaffected in the center channel. If you now solo that channel, there's a strong chance you'll have access to a solo vocal, almost as clean as if you hit solo on that channel in your DAW. And if your track becomes a super worldwide mega hit, anyone with an Atmos decoder will get access to an isolated copy of your vocal to create their next remix from for your song. Far from ideal. Lastly, along the bottom of the Immersive Panner, we find the Divergent Controls. These shape the way the audio moves around the immersive field. The only one you might want to worry about at this stage, certainly in my mixing journey, is the size control, allowing you to make the image bigger in the immersive field. But to be honest, I'm not sure this is going to be very useful to me, and I'm sure it will get me in more trouble than it's probably worth. I'm also sure that someone will put me right on this in due course. It's worth noting that any tracks routed to the bed, in this case our 9.1.6 object bed, these cannot be viewed as moving round in the Dolby Atmos renderer. Tracks routed to their own objects or pairs of objects can be viewed in the renderer, either the internal or external version of the Dolby Atmos renderer. The controls for the object panner are pretty much the same and work in the same way as the immersive panner, but these can be seen doing their thing in the Dolby Atmos renderer. However, the real takeaway from this video should be that if you're panning lead vocals to the center, always set the center control to 0 in the immersive or object panner. So to maintain that phantom center rather than a real center. I think there will be times when you want to use a real center, but I think it's going to be by special request rather than the norm. Well, that's what I think anyway. So I really hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. If you did, please do like, subscribe, hit the bell to be kept in the JTT loop. But for now, my name's James Ivey from Divey Talks Tech, and I'll see you again very soon.